Hi, welcome to another video. Today's video is about the Canon FX. This was produced in 1964, just in time for the 1964 Olympic Games, which were held in Japan. It's a significant camera in the fact that it's the first camera that operated on the FL mount. Before the FL mount, it was the R mount. So this is the first camera that accepted the FL mount. As with all the cameras, I always like to test them to make sure that the shutter is actually working, so you get a different speed. So I'll set the shutter to a second, then I change the shutter to a 30th of a second, and then 500th of a second. What you're doing is you're listening for the change in the speed. As you increase the speed, it should go faster. Obviously, there's no way of telling without specialist equipment. There's no way of telling whether a thousandth of a second is actually a thousandth of a second. This camera's speed, the speed dial, goes from 1 second to 1,000th of a second. You've got a self timer, and on this side, if I take the lens off, you've got a mirror flip up. So if you're taking slow shutter speeds, it's always best to flip the mirror up so the mirror going up and down doesn't shake the camera and cause blur in your pictures. The battery, the original battery was a 1.3 mercury cell battery, which are no longer available. However, there is a 625 Energizer battery, which does actually fit in and it will actually work the camera. However, the voltage of this battery, I can't remember if it's slightly higher or slightly lower than the 1.3. But either way, it does actually make the camera work. But it does give you a slightly inaccurate reading. That's why I've actually got a light meter which I'm going to use with this camera. It doesn't have TTL through the lens metering. The meter is actually on the side of the camera, which is this here. It's basically just a photo cell. On the back of the camera is the switch that operates it. You have an off, an on, and a check. The check is battery check. If the needle, when you put it in battery check, if the needle is in the blue, then the battery is okay. There is a high and a low setting for the meter. The high setting is for dark situations like indoors or dusk. The L is for light sunny situations, for when you have nice weather, which we don't tend to have in this country. Now we're going to insert a film. I'll show you how to open the back. It's this lever here. I'll try and do it so you can see. You lift the lever and once it's open you turn it. That'll pop the back up, and as you can see the back is quite clean inside. I have actually replaced the light seals in this camera and used it a couple of times since. The film I'm going to use is Ilford HP5, which is a 125 rated film, and it's a 36 exposure. Basically, to insert the film, we need to lift the collapsible crank and insert the film into the chamber, and then push the crank back in and extend the film to about here, and then basically you got to insert the film into the slot on the take-up spool, but you got to make sure that you pick up the cogs. Then turn it in, make sure that the film actually goes in. I always turn it a couple of times, and basically you can see the film on the take-up spool, and the film is connected with the teeth. Close the back and shut the key, and then basically the film counter, you need to make sure that you advance it a couple of times until it gets to 1. So advance it, you can see the collapsible crank is turning, so you know that the film is engaged. And that's basically the film's inserted now, and we can now go and take some pictures. I'm going to go through the lens. The outer ring, the silver ring on the outer bit, is the aperture. This is how you set the aperture, and it goes from f1.8 all the way up to f16. To set the aperture, all you do is you turn the ring. If you set the aperture to, say, f11, f16, then to get a depth of field preview, you would turn the second ring, which is a little black ring just at the side. Just a little turn, and that would stop the aperture down, so when you look through the viewfinder, you can see the depth of field that you are presented with, that f-stop presents you with. When you turn it back, you would have to turn the aperture back and open it manually. It won't open automatically. The next ring in is the focusing ring. To take the lens off, you turn the bayonet, not the lens, the bayonet, which is the silver ring closest to the camera. And you've got a red dot on the camera just below the canon, and you've got a red dot on the lens. You line them both up as you do with most SLRs, and then you turn the bayonet, not the lens. We'll take the camera out. I don't know exactly where we'll go, but you're welcome to come along with me.